In this video, we talk about another accidental manifestation that happened to me long before I knew about manifestation. And it's like a fun story. Well, it wasn't funny to me. I remember when I was an exchange student and I lived in New York. I was 17 back then. And I have to admit, I always had this phobia of snakes. Always pretty bad. I remember even when I was a child and I was in Venezuela for vacation, because my aunt's back then husband, I think it was before they were married, my cousin's father, he's from Venezuela, and we were there in Venezuela. And I remember that we were at the beach and I found like a water snake, like a sea serpent. It was like dead in the woods because it came there to lay some eggs, and then they got the skin off and they wanted to keep the skin. And I saw one of them, they had like the snake skin here and the other one had the skinned serpent, and then you threw it into the ocean. And I remember I already had like a phobia of snakes before that, and I think this is what may have triggered my phobia of open waters and oceans. I don't mind being at the ocean, that's pretty nice, but I'm not going in there because I remember I was so scared that the waves would kind of like bring that snake, skin snake, and it would touch me some way. So I don't like open waters. I don't go into oceans. But I always had this phobia of snakes all of my life. When I was an exchange student in New York, I remember the very first thing I heard, it was when my host family came to pick me up from the airport. We were driving there. They had a little daughter. She was 6 years old. She was telling me that they had a garden snake. And they seen a garden snake. I was like, what? There's snakes here? I wasn't happy about that at all. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know there were snakes in New York, and I might see a snake. I've never seen a live snake. Yeah, I've seen them at the zoo, but when I was at the zoo and I had to go to the reptile house, like with school, I had my eyes closed. I was so scared of seeing snakes and couldn't even look at them. And just being in the same room, even if they were behind class, I was absolutely terrified of snakes all of my life. I was there in my host family, like 2 or 3 days, maybe it was even the first evening, I don't remember. And the family, they had 5 children, all daughters, and they wanted to meet some of their friends, and they had a pool. So we went to that family, and they had a pool, and there were frogs in that pool, and we had to catch them with like a little net and a stick. And I was asking them, but you don't have snakes in that pool? And they said, no, snakes don't go into that pool, not ever. We've had this pool for years. We've never had a snake in that pool, not ever. Snakes don't go there. So yeah, I was in that pool one time, and you already probably guessed what happened. We were like 5 girls or so in that pool, and then one of them was like, oh, there's a snake. And then I turned around and there was like this black snake like swimming. It was already in the pool swimming towards me, and I grew completely hysterical. It wasn't a big snake. It wasn't. Garden snakes are completely harmless, and it's probably not much thicker than my thumb is, and maybe like this long, maybe a bit longer than that. But I was completely terrified and squeaking and screaming and running out of that pool, and the other girls were following us. And then their dad came out and they were like, why are you screaming? And they were like, there's a snake. And the dad was like, why are you screaming? You have seen so many snakes already. But I completely panicked, and you know, panic is like when one person panics, it's like a psychological thing. It's like contagious, and then the other people panic as well. So yeah, there has never been a snake in a pool, and it's not very likely that a snake would go into a pool where there are humans in there, because snakes are kind of like scared of humans. But I'm pretty sure I was so scared of meeting a snake, and it was like my first question, has there ever been a snake in that pool, that I accidentally manifested a snake in that pool, which has never happened to them before. And I was there only once. Of course, it wasn't my only snake I saw in New York. I saw I think 2 more times. I saw tiny living snakes. I saw a couple of dead ones when they wanted to sunbathe on the streets, and then they were either like dried. So yeah, it was no fan. And then imagine when I was 21, I started meditating, and in my very first meditation, it was very vivid. My very first meditation, I had all of these images, and I believe that's because going down a spiritual path, it was always my mission. So Spirit was making sure that I have like this big experience, but I meditated like I had read in a book, and I was walking over a bridge, and there was a waterfall, and then I was like basically on my inside, my secret space, and the very first thing I saw was like a snake, a boa, right in the grass in front of me, a boa constrictor. I was not happy about that. I then realized it was my totem animal. I saw other animals as well, and I was scared. And now we're not talking about manifesting anymore. I know I'm going to tack this a different topic right now. It's more about meditation, spirituality, totem animals. The thing is, spirit does not want to scare you ever. So as soon as I was scared of that snake, of course it left. The spirit would not confront you, but every time I meditated, it came back. And at one point I accepted, oh my God, I do have a snake totem animal. And you can call it a shadow totem. Many people actually have totem animals they are scared of. That is not quite uncommon. I didn't know that back then. And there's the sunlight again. I know it's like 6:30 in the evening, and it's going to be my last video I'm going to do for today. Anyway, so a shadow totem would be an animal you are actually scared of until you learn to possess that power. But when I when I did research on snake totems, it was obvious, of course, I do have a snake. It's perfect fit for me. It's the totem of seers, because when snake sheds their skin, then their eyes turn wide, and that means like they can't see into other realms. And I am a seer. I have healing abilities, and snakes talk about healing as well. You know the doctor. I don't know the English words, and you have those two snakes around that, or the one snake around that staff. Snake is connected to healing. Snake is connected to seeing. Snake may be very spiritual, but still it's very close connected to earth. The belly is always on the earth, and I am very grounded. Like snake totem, it's even when you look at the childhood of a snake totem person, it's perfect. I'm 100% snake totem. But of course I was not happy about that at all, and it took me a while to accept it. I remember my cousin, one of my cousins, he had a pet snake, what is it called? He had a corn snake, so completely harmless snake. And one time in meditation, I dared to touch my boa constrictor snake. It took me like half a year, and it felt completely different than I would have felt. I always thought that they would be like a little rough because of scales, so they would be rough, but they're extremely soft. And then after I had made friends with my totem snake, one day I hated being in the same house as a snake, even though he was living in the basement of his parents' house back then. I actually dared to touch his corn snake, and that's when the phobia fell off. I'm still not a friend of snakes, and not at all, but that big phobia, it did fall off. Snakes, maybe that's another reason why that snake came right towards me and came into the pool, because I am connected to snake energy. Maybe that serpent actually felt that, but I wasn't happy about that at all. Another thing, I know this is nothing to do with manifesting, but I was talking about spirit never wants to scare you. I had another situation. I had just moved into this place, and I didn't have any furniture at all. I had like a couch. After I was living here like for a couple of weeks, I got a used couch from my cousin, and I had basically nothing else. I had a microwave and didn't even have a fridge when I moved in here. I didn't have anything, and I know I was sleeping right there on a used couch that I had, and it was a couple days after Christmas, and I had just learned that my host mom's mother, when I was living in New York, had passed, and I was in deep sleep, and then I woke up because I felt spirit, and have had that since I was a child. And when you wake out of deep sleep, it can happen that your body is paralyzed, because your body is paralyzed in deep sleep. So you toss and turn in the REM sleep phase, but not in deep sleep. But I was awakened out of deep sleep, and so my body was still paralyzed. I couldn't move, and I felt spirit like over there where the window is, and I kind of knew it was my host mom's mom that I had known, of course. But I was so scared that I actually left my body. I was crawling that way to tried to reach for the light. So I felt myself crawling all the way over there, and then as I was reaching for the light, I noticed I was still lying in bed. So even though I felt myself, the floor underneath me, I hadn't moved at all, and I was so scared in that moment. And Spirit left right away. Her spirit left right away. Spirit would never, like, when they sense that you're scared, they would never like try to torture you. So that's another thing. So don't ever be scared of like spirits. Like, even if it's your totem, if you're not ready to deal with it, it will leave. It came back every time I meditated. It was there, but every time I was like, no, it left right away. They would not, spirits, any kind of spiritual creature, maybe an angel, maybe a deceased loved one, maybe a totem animal, they would never force you to feel them or to be there when you're scared. Not ever. That is very sure thing. I hope for some of you, if you're spiritual as well, that may bring you some kind of comfort. Spirit would never put you through some kind of if they accidentally scare you, it's not their intention at all. But anyway, I know this end was a bit off topic, but I still felt guided to do it, and I actually felt guided to do it before I pressed record. I knew I would do that from the very beginning, because kind of it felt right to tell all of that. But yes, this is when I accidentally met meeting a snake in a pool. Not a happy situation for me. I was very terrified. I know, completely harmless creature, was not a poisonous snake, but I mean, if any of you have a phobia, then you know it's absolutely terrifying when you are confronted with your biggest fear, even if you know it cannot really hurt you. But it actually swam right towards me. It was like it completely ignored everybody else. It saw me and it swam right towards me, and I was panicking. So yeah, this is when I accidentally manifested meeting a snake. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, check out my other content, check out my other videos on accidental manifestations, or my other playlists on manifestations. If you are interested in personal coaching, you will find my contact information below. If you like my videos and you appreciate the time and effort I put into this, there is a link to my PayPal below if you want to leave a little tip. And I hope I see you in another video on private coaching. Until then, I wish you all the best. Now, bye-bye.